Welcome to Hawks and Lavender Rose, a heart-centered podcast dedicated to community through the foundation of love, trust, and advocacy for conscious living. I am your host, Shauna Gulbrand. I, along with my guests and guest co-hosts, are excited to bring you topics that affect our everyday lives as we share wisdom, awareness, experience, and the practice of vulnerability.
Welcome to Hawks and Lavender Rose. I am your host, Shauna Gulbrand. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I am joined by friend Christina Nichols. Thank you so much for being here today, Christina.
Thanks for having me.
So Christina is a licensed mental health counselor, a licensed B-Body positive facilitator with over 2 decades of experience as a healer, therapist, coach, teacher, and guide in a variety of roles and settings. Specializing in the practice of spirituality, Christina utilizes the tools of mindfulness, meditation, guided visualizations, shamanic journeying, active imagination, and self-care techniques that have been passed down through hundreds of generations of healers. She uses a heart-centered, body-positive, and health at every size approach with her clients. She helps clients delve into the depths of their heart, soul, and intuitive knowing to create a true connection with self, body as a temple, and the divine. She is passionate about helping others live a life of fulfillment and balance. Beautiful. All of that. Welcome. Thank you again so much for being here today, Christina.
Of course.
It's wonderful to have you. So let's start with how we met so folks can know how we came to know each other. That was through Pathways Institute.
Yes. A couple years ago now, right?
Yeah.
Last ever PMI.
PMI, yep. That's where I met you.
That was put together.
Mm-hmm. I still think that was you. That was one of those facilitators in my what's it called? The airline meditation.
Oh.
The lifeboat exercise. The
Yes.
airline meditation. That was a lot. Plus we did work in voice dialogue together too.
Yes.
You were one of the facilitators for
Yes.
voice dialogue. And I remember making energetic connections with you that were so powerful and affected me in ways that I never imagined myself being affected. And sometimes I think, wow, Carol came and puts us through a lot.
Voice dialogue is a powerful technique.
It sure is.
It really has a lot of, just like groundbreaking, eye-opening stuff that like really gets to the heart of who we are and the access that we have within ourselves.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah.
Lots of time uncomfortable, but beautiful just the same.
Yeah, definitely.
So would you like to tell us a little bit? I just said a whole lot about you, but is there anything else you would like to add about yourself?
I'm just really passionate about what I do, and I'm looking forward to continuing the work that I guess is my life purpose that I'm here to share with the world.
Beautiful.
And in particular women, but I guess men can benefit
I guess.
from it too. But my focus has been on working with women, so.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So what are we going to talk about today?
Well, I think I really wanted to just kind of give a little bit of a introduction to who I am or how I got here, and talk about the work with body positivity and what that means and how I incorporate that into the work that I do.
I'm really excited about this topic.
Yeah.
Because I believe so many of us could use a little bit more body positivity. At least 99.9% of the women I know could use it.
It's a big topic that I'm loving seeing, in the media and in other areas, social media especially that there's so many more people coming forward to talk about it and to really understand what it means and practice that.
Right. It's the practice. And we're going to talk about practices too.
Yes.
So what was your motivation to become a licensed B-Body Positive facilitator?
So I've struggled with body image since I was a kid, 11 years old, right, hitting puberty, and my body changing and not understanding what was happening, and, got the typical classes in school of like, oh, this is what a woman's body does, and, but it wasn't really like the in-depth knowledge that I just didn't understand, that all these hormones were rushing through my body was changing rapidly, and it's like that awkward time, as a preteen where, people start to have crushes and like, all of that. So it started young for me, and have really just struggled with it a lot of my life in terms of feeling like I wasn't worthy or as worthy as somebody else that was in a thinner body, and just always had that self-consciousness and like poor body image, like, oh, there's something wrong with me because of the way my body looks and all of that. So that really was kind of like the start of it. And specifically when I found that program, because I went through a program through the Body Positive, which is an organization based in California that does this curriculum. I found it and was like, yes, I just want more I wanted to educate myself more,
right,
and also understand how I could just enhance my tools that I already use with my clients, in more specifically in the body positive realm. So
beautiful motivation.
Yeah.
Your words sparked a little bit inside of me, because I've been dealing with body image for most of my life, like yourself. And I know that part of mine stemmed from being compared to my friends and wondering, why aren't you more like them? Not me. It was other people questioning, why can't you be thin like? And that just set everything in motion for me to compare myself to other women. I do it all the time. And when I see a powerful woman who is on, I don't even know what the right language is anymore, right? But who's on the heavier side of the scale, and she is making a difference in the world, I think, wow, well, she can make a difference, and I kind of look like her, so maybe I can make a difference too. It's okay, I can do that too.
Yeah.
And I realized that love was conditional, that if I looked a certain way, then I would be more worthy, more lovable, if I looked a certain way. And if I didn't, then I wasn't worthy, I wasn't lovable.
Yes.
Which just led to a lifetime of beating myself up.
Well, I think it's, I think that it's been drilled into us that we are supposed to look like a certain way in order, especially to be attractive.
Right.
Right? Like, you can go back as far back as like in the 40s and 50s, the ads.
The women had curves.
Yes, but there was also the mentality of, this is what a woman does. She looks pretty, and she makes the house pretty, and she cooks for her man, and she has the children, and she doesn't complain, and she blah blah blah. Like, it's literally like step by step how to be a good wife. It's all about image. And how objectified women have been. If you look at media, again, starting way back, is, focusing in on one particular part of a woman's body as if she doesn't have a whole body.
Right.
Right? And focusing on, scantily clad women, like, leaning over a car as it's getting washed, or, like, all of this is to objectify women and to say, this is how you're supposed to look. You're supposed to be, that's all you are, is a package. That's all you are. It's an object.
My mother used to put makeup on before my father got home from work. I can honestly say I've never done that before. My husband's gone home from work. But there was one time, it was shortly after we were married. You know, we've been married 31 years. I was wearing sweatpants. And this is no disrespect to my parents. Believe me, it's not. But my mother was over and she asked me, "Aren't you going to change before David gets home?" I'm like, what? What do you mean?
Right.
Because that was her mindset. They got dressed up for their man. And you're right. The house was clean. There was a meal on the table. They fulfilled a role.
Yes. And then the diet industry blew up, right? And which is a multi-billion-dollar industry that targets people to say, if you don't look this way, then you buy our product because you're not good enough. And you need our product, whatever it is, the next, the latest fad diet or,
exercise equipment
or like, what are those pills or,
right.
Like all of those things to look like this, which, the ideal, whatever the ideal is now, there's like 1% of the population that actually have that body naturally.
Right. And no matter what I do, I could eat healthy and exercise until the cows come home.
Right.
I am never going to look like Tom Brady's wife, Giselle.
Right.
That's just never going to happen.
Right.
And then it's a matter, and I'm getting a little ahead of us, but it's a matter of that practice of acceptance.
Yeah.
So why is this so important to you?
It's something that, again, I've struggled with most of my life, and I think that having the conversations about it, opening up the dialogue, because there's a lot of shame around that, right? There's a lot of shame that people carry around about their bodies not being that ideal, and I think that...
and then apologizing for them, too.
Yeah. And people, I know I have, and I still do, again, this is a practice that I will be doing, I think, for the rest of my life, but where I have held myself back out of fear of what people are going to think of me or, how they view me when they see me. And fear of just, the shame of, oh, I'm not the ideal, so therefore I don't have as, anything of importance to share.
Oh, I don't want to get off topic here, but I have so much that I could say right now. All right, I'm going to say it, just because this is my podcast and I can do whatever the hell I want. When I was reading your bio, I immediately started comparing myself to you. And I immediately started thinking that I wasn't good enough. That you have when I read shamanic journeying, I'm like, why am I not doing that? So then I started putting pressure on myself to be more like you. When I see you, I see so much beauty, number one, and power and knowledge and wisdom. And there was you're welcome, but we meditated before we started doing the podcast, and there was so much, and I wanted to come out of the meditation and tell you, and then I was going to, I'm like, no, I'll wait until afterwards. But that's what happened, that I've been intimidated by you at points because I look at you as a powerhouse, and it doesn't matter what your body looks like to me.
Right.
You just shine, and I want to shine like you. That is the God honest
Well, the
truth.
feeling is mutual.
Good.
I think we've talked about that before too. That I was totally intimidated by you when I first met you, and I thought you were a powerhouse, and I still do. And I think that's what I think. And again, this is kind of going off topic, but the shadow aspects of the positive projections, right? Of what you see in me is also in you, and vice versa. And it's hard sometimes to remember that, right?
Exactly.
It's hard sometimes to actually own that when I look at you and I think, wow, she's got her shit together, she's organized, she's, a powerhouse, she comes out, she knows exactly what she wants to do, she's shining bright, and that's also me. And it's harder to say, and that's also me, right? Because it's so much easier to be well, I don't have that. That's her, So I think it's It's interesting.
And the both of us have so much to offer to the world. And yet,
Yeah.
we allow, let me speak for myself, I allow my body image to stop me from doing things.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, same here. I've done it, you know, and I'm practicing. Again, it's a practice every day that it's like, okay, you know what? I have way more than, I'm way more to offer than what my body looks like.
Exactly.
Right? Like, it doesn't, you know, it's not about the package, although learning to love my body every day as well. And outside of the constant messages that, you know, my body is not acceptable.
Right.
But just to know that I have so much inside, and really I'm just a channel, like, for the divine, right? Like we all are.
Exactly. And we're all a divine expression of life.
Yeah.
No matter what our bodies look like.
Yeah.
What does it mean to be body positive?
So I think this one's a tricky one. For me, what body positivity is really loving and accepting myself and my body as it is. Not thinking that I have to change it in order to be worthy. I can choose to change it, right? But the obligation part of it, I think, was, you know, this pressure to look this certain way that, you know, again, that I'm not worthy enough until I look a certain way. And so being able to just love who I am and my body as it is now. And also it's about educating and really standing in my power that I do have more to offer. And just because I'm in a larger body doesn't mean anything. You know?
Do you believe that we choose our bodies before we incarnate?
I don't think I've ever thought of that.
Really?
Yeah, like I don't think I've ever thought of that. I feel like we go through the experiences that we need to go through to grow the skills that we need. So yeah, I would imagine then that if that's what is needed for me to grow, then yeah, I would say yes. I do believe that.
Yeah, I've believed it for a while.
Yeah. And
I that's one of the things that I practice. So I do stand in front of the mirror naked.
Mm-hmm.
I try to do it every day.
Yeah.
Some days are easier than others. And I remind myself that I chose this body for the lessons I'm here to learn. And they're pretty clear, right? Yeah. They're right in front of me. But that doesn't mean that I can just step over them and move forward. I still have to process, you know, the patterns that are in me and the conditioning that's in me.
Yeah.
And the lower love. My self-esteem has grown considerably, and I do a lot of work with the solar plexus chakra. But I still have work to do. Mm-hmm. And we were saying this before. I don't know if we were recording, it doesn't matter, but until our last breath, right? Yeah. We're doing this work.
Yeah, we are. And the you know, loving our bodies, loving my body is going to be a lifelong practice.
Yeah. Some days I just want a day off, though. Don't you? Wake up and go, I just don't want to do the work today.
Definitely.
In your opinion, what is, in your opinion, a holistic approach for body image?
So for me, a holistic approach is the mind, body, and spirit. So looking at our thoughts, what we say about ourselves, you know, that inner critic that we have,
yes,
that we all have, and what those beliefs are about ourselves. And I think being able to look at what that is and then shift that can be really powerful. Our body is, you know, for me, our body is our temple. It's our sacred temple. It's what houses our spirit. And it's what houses the divine that we all have within us. And so it's being able to incorporate all of those things.
I have to be honest, I don't, and I'm not going to get down on myself, but I don't refer to my body as a temple as often as I would like to. And I think starting today, I'm going to do that. I'm going to that's going to be another practice. In that, yes, this is a temple that I chose to be in for this lifetime. Yeah. And God is with me. You've heard me, or you've seen me post about these things, that we're made of stars, right? I believe it's everywhere, all in around. I don't see God as something above us and disconnected from us. Right. I feel that my body is part of what God is. Yeah. And you're right, it is a temple, and I'm going to make a promise to myself that I'm going to start viewing it and thinking of it that way. Any other opinions on the holistic approach? Any examples that you want to give? You don't have to.
I'm like, nothing came to mind.
Let's move on. That's the joy of it. We can have all the fun we want. We don't have to be robots on this show. Why is body positivity so important?
Again, I think with the messages that have been out there for so long, that we need to shift how we look at women. We have to shift that. And body positivity is a way in which it's like a framework, right? To think about our bodies in a different way than just sexual objects and being objectified in whatever way it's being objectified. But and regardless of the size, right? Because again, it's like that same ideal is anything outside of that ideal has been, shamed, has been said to be wrong, has been, oh, here's all these products that we can, sell to you to create that, to continue to create that fantasy that is unattainable.
Right. Unattainable. Great word to use.
But it's also just educating, I think, and looking at how systemically our society is set up to not support people in larger bodies. Like, for instance, like airline seats, right? And movie theater seats, and even like in therapist's office, like the chairs that are in like a clinical outpatient setting, let's say, right? It's a certain, even like office chairs. If you go into an office building, or in colleges, they have desks still. Or even in high schools, and the desks are immovable, right? So you have to be able to fit into a certain size desk, and it's like, how does that feel for somebody in a larger body that doesn't fit in that?
My husband and I went to see TEDx Cambridge a year or so ago.
Wow, wonderful!
I think it was at the Boston Opera House.
Uh-huh.
That was the most uncomfortable evening of my life, because the seats, and I'm not. There are women much, much bigger than me, and men. The seats were like this big. Yeah. So I sat down, and I was literally like this the whole time. I'm like, how am I supposed to move? Like, why haven't they done this place over? That's what I was thinking. Put in bigger seats.
Right.
So as you were talking, I was reflecting on magazine covers. I was reflecting on Hollywood. I read an article about how airlines are trying to make their seats actually smaller, make everything more compact, and it's really difficult. I don't read beauty. Well, I don't read magazines anyway. I've never been a magazine girl. But I shy away from any beauty magazines because I have found that as I look through them, number one, they're all airbrushed. I mean, I'm sure you've seen articles about how they look before and how they look after they've been all fixed up.
Yeah.
So I've just avoided those because when I did look at those, I felt inferior.
Yeah.
So I just avoid those.
Yeah.
And it isn't to say that I don't want to get my body healthier. So you were talking about that a little bit before. It's loving my body regardless of what it looks like now, and then making that choice. Yeah, I think I'm going to go exercise today because I know the importance of exercising my body. Or I think I'm going to be a sloth today, right? So that choice gives us freedom. But I know that this practice of accepting what this is, I mean, it's been with me my whole life.
Yeah.
How much longer do I want to fight with it? It's a losing battle.
Yeah. I'm hopeful, and I love to see now that magazines are becoming more body inclusive, right? And that major companies are taking the stand. I think Dove was the first one, not to like throw out, brand names, but Dove went through and did their whole beauty campaign, which was amazing. And I think that was one of the biggest companies at the time that started that. And now you see all of these other companies, like I think Calvin Klein just did an underwear ad with a woman with a larger body. And so I mean now it's wonderful to be able to see in media that there's a diversity of body shapes and sizes, and I think that that's important.
And what did you say? 1% of society is that got that ideal?
Yeah, I'm not like I'm not.
Well, let's say it's low.
It's a very small percentage of the 7-8 billion people on this earth.
When I see commercials, well, I try to fast forward through most of them, but when I see commercials, I appreciate looking at someone who looks like a normal person.
Yeah.
Who isn't this skinny little thing, because not everybody is.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, more things are coming up.
I know.
As we're talking.
Mental notes.
All right, let's ask you your next question here. In your opinion, how and why has negative body image become such a big issue?
I think we just answered a lot of that.
I think we did too.
Yeah. I mean, it really is the companies that have been out there, the media, social media, practices of just, this is what sells, right? This is what is valued in our country, in our society, that thin is what is the top priority. And that is so damaging to everyone that doesn't fit into that mold. And it's really damaging to those that do fit into the mold and might have body fluctuations, because we all do. Right. So that's like the fall from grace, so to speak. Oh, you put on weight, or, that it's so damaging to everyone's mental health, right? When we think that, when we have those thoughts, when we see not a representation of us, and we then begin to believe that we're not worthy or we're not included, right? That just, perpetuates those negative thoughts and those inner critics that impact our mental health, which then impacts our physical health and our spiritual health.
Girlfriend of mine, when I first started teaching yoga, she had interest, but she wouldn't step foot in the yoga studio.
Mm.
Would not. And she explained to me how she would drive by one near her home, and all these skinny women were coming out.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend is on the larger side.
Mm-hmm.
And she would not step foot inside a yoga studio because she didn't feel, well, I can't answer that for her, but in my imagination was she would just be too uncomfortable with women in spandex. And yoga is for everybody.
And in our culture, again, up until recently, yoga has been sensationalized as skinny white women. Mm-hmm. And that is, again, objectifying in some respects, mm-hmm. right? But that yoga is for skinny white women. And that if you don't fit into that mold, then you have no reason to be going to a class. And a lot of times, teachers, like yoga teachers, are not taught how to do alternative poses right. for people in larger bodies right. that can't get into a certain pose because of the size of their body, or just because of their ability, right?
I was sitting on a spin bike at the gym, and the instructor, my girlfriend Catherine, came in, and she came running up to me, and she said, "How do you feel about getting certified as a yoga instructor?" And my first initial response was, no way. I do not have the body to be a yoga instructor. Mm-hmm. Not happening. I'm not going to embarrass myself. Mm-hmm. Because yoga instructors are all beautiful and perfect and they have great bodies. And then I started to think about it a little bit more as I was spinning and sweating. And I thought, why not me? Why not me? Maybe I can break some sort of mold. 4 years later, I'm hoping, and I think I did, break some of the mold through the 4 years that I did teach. And every body type comes through the door.
Yeah.
Every body type. So what's important is finding a class and an instructor who can modify
Yes.
and who is welcoming and makes you feel comfortable.
Yes. One of my friends is a yoga teacher for larger bodies.
Is that in Somerville?
Yes.
I think I just started following them on Facebook.
More to love?
I think that's what it is.
Yeah. She's wonderful.
Let's go. You want to go to a class?
Yeah, I've been before, yeah.
Okay. We're going. Anybody wants to come with us?
Yeah, she does she does all the modifications, and she's now she went out to Kripalu is where she got her training, and she's now gone back to Kripalu to teach other yoga teachers how to be body inclusive.
Wow.
In that, and so I'm hopeful that starts to make a trend too, right? That there are more instructions for yoga teachers on how to be body inclusive.
There's a question I want to ask you, but I think this might have to be saved for the second show.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to save it. Ken, I love this question. When you look in the mirror, what's the first thought you have?
It depends on the day. I'll be honest with you. My practice has been when I am feeling, down or crappy or whatever, and I'm looking in the mirror, to shift and say, I love you, and you are beautiful just as you are. So again, and sometimes I wake up and I'm like, God damn, look at you. Yes, sexy goddess, right?
Exactly.
Has showed up this morning, and I love that, and it doesn't happen every day, right? And so when I am critical of myself, I will go into and stand in front of the mirror and just say, I love you and you're beautiful, and it's beautiful. I love that practice.
I started doing mirror work about a decade ago, and it was one of the most uncomfortable practices I had ever experienced in my life. But the more I used it, the easier it got, and it really is so effective. And now, it depends. It depends on where I'm at energetically, where I'm at emotionally. Sometimes I scoot by the mirror really quick, but then I'll stop and I'll go back. And like I said before, I do try to stand naked in front of the mirror every day.
Yeah.
And to remind myself that this is the body that's been with me now for almost 53 years.
Yeah.
And she's not going to weigh 110 pounds and wear stilettos. It's not going to happen.
Right.
First of all, I don't want to wear stilettos. Let's just get that straight. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not, and this is kind of what I was going to ask you. Let me just touch on it. It's that, well, what about those people who say, but you have to be healthy? How can you accept that when you're not healthy? And again, I think we're going to move into that conversation the next time you're here. What do you think? Do you want to say anything about that now?
Yeah, I mean, I can touch upon it a little bit. I think that it's tricky. I'm not a medical doctor, so I have no medical
Full
background.
disclosure.
Yeah, I have no medical background in that sense, but I have personal experience.
Right.
And health and the education, right, from the Body Positive program and all of that, is that health is not just weight. Weight is a factor. Yes, it definitely impacts health. However, there are many, many skinny people or people in thin bodies who have health conditions.
They sure do.
And they're not healthy, right? They're, doing whatever. And there are many people that are in larger bodies who are healthy. So the number on the scale or the number in your clothing is not the end-all be-all indicator of health. And I think that, again, the diet industry has done a really good job of saying that that's the end-all be-all of health. Like, you need to be healthy, you need to... There are other numbers that are a factor, like your blood pressure and your blood sugar and your cholesterol and, all of those numbers that also indicate what health is. And I think health is also, something that we get to choose how healthy we want to be. Like, who tells us that we have to be healthy? Like, why is that, given that we're supposed to be healthy? Like, it's, everybody gets to choose how they live their life.
So it makes more people comfortable around us? I don't know. That's just a guess.
Yeah,
but what about our mental health? What about that level of healthy?
Exactly.
Emotional health, spiritual health.
Right.
We are a whole being.
Yeah.
It's not just the physical body and how much the physical body weighs.
Exactly.
Before we move on, I'm going to ask the listeners and the viewers to think about, be willing to stand naked in front of the mirror. Mm-hmm. And
that's a great practice.
Notice what happens. So we have thoughts, right? But then we have these back thoughts that are just so repetitive that they happen so much and so often we don't even realize it. But if you listen, you can hear. So it's standing in front of the mirror, noticing, and chime in at any point, noticing what you're feeling, what you're thinking, what you want to say, and what's happening in the background.
Yeah.
Because I always find that whatever's happening in the background is key for moving towards healing, for me, anyway.
I know that this is going to be something that we touch on later, but one of the practices that I had done for quite some time is standing in front of the mirror. I made it a ritual, so...
Yes, I remember this.
So I had read a study about this doctor, I think I wrote his name.
Frankenstein.
Dr. somebody. What was his name? I just want to make sure that I say his name right. Now I don't know where it went. Dr. Masura Emoto. And he did a study on putting positive words on bottles of water or containers of water. And then he would look at the molecules under a microscope. Mm-hmm. And so, he had several containers full with like love and joy, just, a marker or something written on the side of the container. Just really love positive words like joy and, abundance and all of that. And he would look at the pictures of the molecules. And then on a separate group of containers, he would put like negative words like hate and disgust and all sorts of other, negative words, and would look at the molecules. And it was so amazing to see the shift that a water molecule goes through depending on what the container's intention, basically, right? We set an intention for that container of this is a container of love and this is a container of hate. And to see the distortion, actually, that the negative words create in the molecules. And so I was like, well, we're about 70 or 80% water.
What are we doing to our water molecules?
Exactly, with all that critical voice and the negative talk that we say to ourselves. And so I started writing on my container. And I took a liquid eyeliner and I would write on my belly, because that's the area that I've had worked on the most of, like, that's the most uncomfortable for me. And so I would write love on my belly after I got out of the shower every morning. And I would, thank you. And I would write it on my arm, and I would write it like all over, depending on the day. But that was me standing in front of the mirror. And I did this for like 2 years, I think, every single day. And so in the morning time because I would leave it on all day, And I would go into the shower the next morning, and it was a ritual of like, I'm going to wash my container, and I'm going to prepare it for whatever word I choose today to put on my body. Some days I would put joy, and some days I would write abundance. And it was just, that way of shifting the molecules within my own container.
I love that.
Yeah.
Add that to your list. Go out and buy some liquid eyeliner. I have some upstairs.
Yeah.
I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
And
what a great practice.
Yeah. And it was really life-changing too for me, because again, prior to that I'd been, so critical of my body, and that, just all of those negative thoughts. And I got a tattoo finally, because for 2 years I was like, tattoos are permanent.
Yeah. Yes, they are.
And so that was what the liquid eyeliner for me was like, let me see how it is to have this on my body. And so I did get a tattoo on my wrist that says love. And again, that's the constant reminder for me of, this is my container, and this is my, temple. And I get to choose what I fill it with.
Okay, so you all have some homework. We want to know what you thought of standing naked in front of your mirror. I imagine some of you are probably thinking, no way. And that's okay. As long as you're willing. Practice being willing. Make that your practice. I am willing to think about standing naked in front of my mirror.
The other thing that, the other practice that I started with was when I started looking in the mirror, I wasn't convinced when I said, I love you. I was like, I feel like I'm lying, because I didn't feel like I loved myself, right? And so what I shifted it to was, I look forward to the day that I can look at you and say, I love you.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So it gives it gives space to say, I'm open to getting there, and I know that I'm not there. That felt more in line and within integrity of where I felt in that time. And it was more truthful to me for myself. So.
That's beautiful. Right, because that's really expansive, what you just said.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel with the word willingness. I use the word willingness a lot. Mm-hmm. Like, I might not know how to do something, but if I'm willing, the universe sets the energies in motion for the how to be figured out.
Yeah.
So, wow, we gave you lots of practices here, lots of tips from practices. And I was just going to ask you, what are some of your practices in body positivity?
Yeah, so I do have a couple others. Let me see where that one is. So my first and foremost is like meditation. I think that is, it's just, for me, an imperative, foundational practice that I have to do every single day.
Yeah.
And even when I don't do it, for whatever reason, I can feel it. I feel it in how I'm thinking about myself and what's happening, and so grateful that we were able to start before this to do a nice meditation to kind of, bring ourselves into our bodies. So meditation is huge, and again, it's honoring that my body is my sacred temple, and being able to clear out the negative thoughts and just give myself a place of respite is important too.
Yeah. And for those of you who may have just freaked out when you heard the word meditation, I invite you to look at it as stillness. Can you shut your phone off, leave it in the other room, and sit still? That's it. Just sit still and witness.
Yeah, so do you know Kyle Cease?
I don't.
He's a stand-up comic turned into a motivational speaker. He's great. I love his energy, and he's really funny. He takes his comedy into it. But he was just doing this online meditation the other day, and I was participating in it, and one of the things that he talked about was, and this is so true, we don't feel comfortable just sitting with ourselves. Mm-hmm. So we distract ourselves with
phone.
Yeah, get the phone, watch TV, eat, do anything to be,
not with
ourselves, and to be not present to what's happening in any given moment. And so, yes, stillness, just being able to sit with ourselves and notice the urge when you want to get up, or like when you're like, I can't do this anymore. Like, oh, what's that part?
Mm-hmm. What is that part? And call your spirit back to the present moment.
Yeah.
That's what I do a lot.
Yeah.
When I start to go wherever, I call my spirit back to the present moment. That works for me. Another idea for a practice.
Yeah. Intuitive eating and intuitive movement are two practices that I also do. So intuitive eating would be, again, I think we'll probably touch on this on a later.
Yeah, because I'm wicked curious.
But intuitive eating is more checking in with your body, my body, at any given point and saying, am I actually hungry? And if I'm not, I can still choose to eat, but that it's a conscious choice, right? And if I am hungry, how hungry am I? And what do I want to eat? Like, what does my body want or need right now? And again, it is getting a little bit quiet with ourselves so that we can hear, right? But I think we've been taught since like we were little kids to not listen to our bodies. Our bodies are so intelligent, and our bodies know when to eat and when not to eat.
They sure do.
And you look at any toddler, right? And they're like, nope, I'm done. Or even a baby will spit food out, right? But in our fast-paced, organized, and scheduled lives, we're like, no, finish your food. It's breakfast time right now. It's lunchtime here, you know, when you're at school or whatever. Like, you've got 20, I mean, I just heard they give kids 20 minutes to eat breakfast or lunch. I think that's just way too fast. Yeah, it's not mindful. It's not present.
But they have academics to learn.
Exactly. So, but like we've been programmed to not listen to our bodies, and not to listen to our satiety, like, and our fullness and our hunger cues. But we know them all. We do. It's just remembering that we have them and getting back in touch with that. And so intuitive eating is
stillness and listening
and remembering that our bodies know when they need to eat and when they don't.
My husband made he loves to cook breakfast, but he had these potato cakes, and I was walking by the stove, and he's like, I saw them, and I said, wow, those are a lot in there. Who are you cooking those for? He's like, oh, I thought you might want one or two with your egg. And I said to him, nah. He's like, oh yeah, you're trying to eat clean. I forgot about that. And I went upstairs and I took a shower, and I was thinking about it when I was in the shower. And I came back downstairs and I said, if I wanted to eat one of those, I don't care how clean I want to eat, I'm going to eat one of those. But I know if I eat one, I know exactly what my body is going to feel like if I eat that. And I'm not going to eat that because I don't want to feel that way.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of trial and error of you're eating food, how do I feel? Eating food, how do I feel? But that, again, is a practice. It's that taking the time to tune in.
Yeah, yeah.
What about the intuitive movement?
So the intuitive movement is a similar thing. Our bodies know when they need to move and with what amount to move. And, I think that there's a lot of pressure, again, from the diet and fitness industry to, work out and work out and work out and work out. I'm all for movement. I'm all for working out. It's when you stop listening to your body that it gets really dangerous. That's when it becomes a problem, right? Is because you're pushing yourself past anything that your body is really needing right then.
Right.
And so, and it's also the mental health piece of it. It's like, oh, well, I should be working out. I should be going to the gym. I should be trying to lose weight. I should be, blah, 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 all the shoulds. It's, how does my body want to move right now? Because I'm sure, my job as a therapist and coach, I sit. I sit a lot. And I can feel it. Like, my body is like, please get up and stretch, right? So in between each client, I get up and I stretch a little bit and I, shake my body out to prepare myself for the next client, because I'm going to be sitting for another, 45 to an hour.
Right.
But listening to that piece of it, or, rather than going to the gym, right? It's like, you know what? My body prefers to go for a vigorous hike.
There you go.
Right?
Yes.
It doesn't
I know exactly what you're saying.
It doesn't have to be in a gym. And if you like the gym, great, go to the gym.
Yes.
And if you like to do the weights, great, do the weights. If you like to do the cardio or you like to do the classes, the spin classes, I mean, all of those are fantastic. Just listen.
Right.
Listen. And that's another good positive, body positive practice.
I love that. All right. Please share some of your work, services, and offerings in body love and body positivity.
So, like I shared, or like you shared, I am a therapist, a licensed mental health counselor. I work with women primarily, and I work with them around body image, disordered eating type stuff, and really just like, how do we start to remember that our bodies are so smart and we can have a conversation with them and we can have a relationship with them. So it's helping women to bring themselves back into themselves. And I'm starting to offer coaching in addition to that. So the, you know, if there are more of the mental health issues, more diagnosable stuff, then, you know, that's appropriate for therapy. And then I have more of the body positive for women that, you know, want to just begin to have that practice of body love and body positivity. So I'm doing one-on-one video sessions with people.
Great.
And I'm not sure exactly when, hopefully sometime this spring, but I offer an 8-week course on body positive, being a body positive person. And so I will, you know, share that with you once it's
absolutely
up and running. And I've done, you know, workshops, and that's one of my, you know, hopes and dreams is to do like a retreat on healing the relationship with our bodies. And my biggest gate is dance. I love to dance, and I think that there's, and just movement again, you know, being out in nature for me is beautiful, and that's how my soul gets nourished. And but being able to bring that to others, that through movement we can heal our relationships through our body, and it doesn't have to necessarily be strictly through like a psychological aspect or like the processing, like from a more linear perspective. That it's really non-linear, like to just explore whatever that looks like for any one individual person, you know.
I love that.
So
I just want to make it clear that Christina will be back on the podcast.
Yes.
And that when you said retreat, I saw myself there with you. In what capacity, I don't know yet, but all good things to come.
I'm creating a collage, a vision board for my retreat. I just found a space, this beautiful retreat in Ibiza. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Great. Are there any last words of wisdom that you would like to share with our audience today?
So, in preparing for this conversation with you, every time I thought about like, oh, how do I, you know, what do I want to share? How do I want to bring myself? What would be important to bring forth? I kept getting the image or this sensation of really just drop into your body, like come home to your body. And I think that's the message. Is we oftentimes in our society a lot is there, you know, go, 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 go. We're in the linear process. We're in that masculine, like just get shit done and don't matter about what anything else. Just get it done, right? And then on to the next thing, and then on to the next thing, without pausing. There's no break. We don't support downtime, right? I mean, most people don't get like 2 weeks of vacation in a year, right? And so we don't honor that practice. And so that is the message, is just take a moment to pause and drop back into your body, to come home to yourself. And that is what my hope is for the work that I do is to help people come back home and be here in their bodies, their beautiful sacred temples.
It's beautiful. What a wonderful way to end. Where can folks find you?
So I think you'll post this, but
I will.
I have my website, which is www.lovechristinamarie, Christina with a K, .com. You can find me on Psychology Today, so that's more of my therapy practice. And Facebook and Instagram is at Love Christina Marie for both places.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you for having me. It's been so fun.
What a great conversation. And again, I'm like, I just want to keep talking because there are all these other things. But like I said, you're coming back. Will you come back on?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so
of course.
she's coming back on. And I'm thrilled about that. Thank you all so much for tuning in, for listening, for watching. I greatly appreciate you. And I wish you a magical day.
Bye.